Let's take you back to our top story this afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting the second presidential summit on gender-based violence and femicide in Midrand. This year's theme is accountability, acceleration and amplification now. Now, the two-day summit will reflect on the progress made in fighting violence against women and children. My colleague, reporter Slindelo Masikane, is in Midrand at Galaga Estate, the venue of the summit. Good afternoon, Slindelo. It's a packed house. We've seen some very powerful statements made by activists, and some of them a little bit emotional, but making the point differently, that they're disappointed at the progress or lack of progress made by government in the fight against GBV.
Certainly so. Close to 2,000 delegates here have descended to the Galaga Convention Center, where, of course, the second summit, the second GBVF summit, is taking place. The first one back in 2018, and even then we saw very dramatic and emotional scenes. Equally so today, where government officials are being held accountable for the progress, or, like you said, perhaps the lack of progress that has been made in terms of efforts to end the scourge. I'm joined by Justice Minister Mr. Ronald Lamula. You face some very tough questions from the floor. Many of the activists saying that your department in particular letting them down when it comes to convictions, when it comes to perpetrators getting bail. And in particular, a big question coming from the floor, Minister, is around women who were defending themselves against their own perpetrators and are now serving life sentences. As a department, what are you doing?
Yeah, obviously we have accounted on what was resolved in the last summit, where we were expected to put some laws together, and we did that. 3 amendment bills, which are now acts which the President has signed: the Domestic Violence Amendment Act, the Criminal Law Related Amendment Act, the Sexual Matters Related Amendment Act. So 3 laws that have been put together in the last 2 years, which is the fastest pace in an unprecedented way. So that was the accountable and the responsive government responding to the issues that they have raised. We have also ensured that the courts become victim-centric in terms of the video conferencing, where victims can now testify without having to see the offenders if they wish so. But also those laws also enable that anyone can testify from anywhere in the world, including through various virtual platforms, including experts. The Domestic Violence Amendment Act also allows for a digital form to apply for domestic violence. It is also digitizing the court infrastructure, which makes it accessible and victim-centric. And with regards to bail, the Criminal Law Amendment Act has also tightened the conditions and the situations through which offenders of sexual offences and GBV have to go through very stringent processes. So indeed we have responded to the call, we have accounted, and we continue to work with the civil society to improve the criminal justice system.
Mr. Lamula, maybe for 1 second, I want you to take off your hat as a minister and as a man in this conference, hearing the stories and the emotions at play, how women don't feel safe in this country. What needs to happen moving forward? How do men hold themselves accountable?
Yeah, obviously I can't take leave from myself. The reality is that it is indeed a difficult environment for women in South Africa. We as men have to spread love, have to also ensure that when we groom young boys, both parents also have to play a role, telling them they love them so that they see appreciation and they grow up to also continue with the movement to spread love in society. Because as we have seen from the first research, the difficult challenge is in the households, because it's people who know each other, and it's also how they've been groomed. So if we can be able to deal with that family setup, unit, and the societal unit, we will have been able to eliminate gender-based violence in South Africa.
And the question around women who are now serving sentences because they themselves were defending themselves against perpetrators. As a department, is there anything you can do for them?
Yeah, obviously the law must take its course. For anyone that murders someone, or for any reasons, the law must take its course. And obviously there could be some mitigating factors that those people can be able to inform the court. But our criminal justice system allows that whoever has done that must be the one who explain to the court, and then the court, based on the evidence in front of them, particularly the mitigating circumstances, could then be able to see what is a proportionate sentence. And countrywide, you will have seen some of the courts also sometimes take that into cognizance, where they have, in some cases, find that they have given an alternative type of a sentencing instead of direct imprisonment and so forth. So the system does allow the presiding officers to exercise their discretion, informed by the facts and the law, and also the National Prosecuting Authority. And also when they are inside, there have been various programs. The president, you will remember, in 2020 and 2019 did a remission, which also they also benefited from that type of a remission. So I do think that unfortunately we can't have a blanket approach. It will have to be, each case has to be dealt with on its own merits, because you can imagine if you can just have a blanket approach and a law that says if this kind of a thing has happened, therefore there's nothing that must happen to you. There will not be accountability in society. So there must be accountability, the law must take its course, and each case must be dealt with on its own merits.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you.
All right, I'll let you get back to the program, which is officially underway once more. The second session getting underway here, Midrand. I'm going to ask Shahid to give you a picture, and we are expecting the President, of course, to give his address and to answer some questions that were posed to him around the GBF Council, when that's going to be constituted, issues around the fund, the GBVF fund, where's that money, and why have those implementations not taken place? As you can see on stage right now is the Minister in the Presidency, that is Midrand Mashabane, who was also part of that panel earlier on. And of course, this is a 2-day summit, Midrand, and it will end tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Slindelo Masikane there at Gallagher Estate in Midrand, just giving us an update there on day one of the second presidential summit on gender-based violence and femicide. President